All right, we are ready. Hailing from the great cold state of Alaska, we are the Frozen Gamers Podcast. I am your host, Nathan Dugas. Here with me for episode 53 is a man who types with boxing gloves on, Mr. John Flam.
It's the only way to do it. You can be so much more accurate on the keys with boxing gloves. I haven't had to use spell check in ages. It's a skill, though. It really is. It's
Yeah, especially
hard.
if you type like this.
Well, yeah, and you're just kind of mashing them, and your words per minute initially go way down, and then just through the roof if you're practicing it. Perseverance, that's what it is. Perseverance.
Exactly.
So, I once tried to tape shrimp on the side or on the front of my boxing gloves to practice fingers, but that seemed counterproductive.
And it started to get a little stinky.
It wasn't a good time at all.
Oh no, I'm a shrimp. I'm a shrimp. Don't leave me.
Yeah, not recommended at all. Basically stolen straight from that episode.
All right, so how are things going, John?
Not too bad yourself?
Not too shabby.
All right.
The house is, the apartment is now free of my in-laws, and so I feel like I can start to actually relax a bit more. I mean, thankfully, they weren't, invasive or anything. It really wasn't bad at all having them here. It's just that it's a little bit harder to relax and everything when you're so used to it just being you and, well, when I'm so used to it being just me and Megan.
Right.
And, with my in-laws around, it's just like, I don't know, it's hard to explain.
No, I know what you're saying. I had some buddies over
That's
for
true,
a week,
yeah.
and, it's great to have people over, and it's a lot of fun, but you need your space after a while. And it's like, okay, you can leave anytime.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, moving to the bedroom only works to a degree because it's like, that does help to unwind a little bit, but then at the same time, it's like, well, my in-laws are in the next room over, so that means that, like, we want to have the TV on, we have to keep the volume down a little bit more, and
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it throws off your schedule, basically.
Exactly.
So, good to get back into it.
Yeah, and we didn't have hot water for the past couple of days.
Oh.
And it took way longer for them to get it up than was expected, but it is finally working now, so
good.
I will actually be able to shower at home in the morning instead of having to go to work and shower there.
At least you have that option, though. I mean, that would have been awful.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, things are pretty good.
Cool.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say what games you've been playing. My list is short.
Okay, well, mine's not very long, especially compared to most weeks. I played several things, some of which were just really small amounts, but I played some more Shadow of the Colossus last week, and I just went through one more of the Colossi, whatever the plural version of that is. But anyway, I just went through one more through the 10th one, so I'm more than halfway done. But I played it all on my Vita, and I've been enjoying actually being able to use remote play for that, because that was one of the things that sold me on the Vita, was playing that game through remote play.
Yeah.
And I haven't played as much of it, and I think it's mostly because while I do really enjoy the fights against the Colossus, Colosseums. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it is. No, that's the arena.
Yeah, I know. It's sometimes really difficult to find them, and I mean, thankfully the last one I didn't have as much trouble finding as I thought I would. I ended up finding it pretty easily, but I started looking for the next one and was just having trouble finding him. So I could have looked it up easily enough and found out where to go, but I decided not to play anymore. But yeah, so I played that a little bit. Played some more Persona 3 Portable. It was good that I got a nice break from it for a while. The one thing that's a little frustrating to me about that one is, unlike in Persona 4, when it comes to the social links, getting to know people and everything, because of the fact that you cannot get to know girls as a male without it eventually progressing to the point where you become a couple, it takes away from the desire to actually do it, because it's like, well, it's one thing when you have one girlfriend, but then when you're wanting to get to know the others, it's like, well, if you pursue these other girls and just getting to know them, they eventually become romantically, essentially your girlfriend, and then that causes problems later on.
Interesting.
And whereas in Persona 4, you have the choice when it gets to the point, there comes a point where you go one of two directions. Either you go the direction of a romantic relationship, or you go the direction of just becoming closer friends. And I mean, in some ways it's not fair to compare them, because one came before the other, so obviously the one that came before is not going to have as good of mechanics from that standpoint, but it makes it hard for me, because when I have downtime in the game, it's like there's nothing for me to do, because I can't develop these relationships without causing problems later on. But there's not really anything left for me to do, because I've raised up all of my personal stats, my charm, intelligence, and bravery or courage. And so it's just, I have so little to do during that time. It's only because it's only at the end of the day that you go to this place where you're basically doing battles and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyway, so I mean, I do enjoy the game, but I think it might take me a little bit longer to finish it. I do want to get through it all the way. But yeah, played some Mario Kart 8, mostly with Megan.
Nice.
Didn't make any more progress, just played for fun. And got back into Animal Crossing. I haven't played that in a couple of months, so I decided to pull that out and mess with that some more, and that's been fun. Nice and simple, but fun. And then for being a gold member in Club Nintendo, I was able to choose one of a few different games, and I ended up going with Wario Land 2, which is a Game Boy Color Virtual Console.
Oh, sweet.
So I played a little bit of that, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I played like a tiny bit of the GBA one, which I got as a freebie for being an ambassador.
I have that one. I bought it back in the day. That was a fun one.
Yeah, but I just played a little bit. The only thing that was a little frustrating to me was that I couldn't go back to the beginning of the level after I finished it, because like I accidentally finished the level and I wanted to, finish going through the nooks and crannies and getting all the coins.
Yeah.
And stuff, and so I stopped playing that, but I'll probably just get back into it at some point and play all the way through it, maybe even before the end of the year. We'll see. But the big one, which I've talked a bit about on Twitter, is the demo for Smash Bros. 3DS, which I was very stoked to get, because basically last week Nintendo of America did a long Twitch stream where they were going over some of the games that are coming out for Wii U and 3DS. Most of the time they spent was going over Smash Brothers, and for Club Nintendo members who have achieved Platinum status by, I think it was end of September, like it was during a certain period of time that people had achieved Platinum status. Those people got a code to where they could play the demo as of last Friday, and as well as like I think 3 additional codes that they could pass on to other people.
Nice.
And it's an unlimited demo, so you can use it as many times as you want. There's no, it's not a limited number of uses. And so when I found out about this, of course I'm not Platinum status, but I asked around on Twitter to see if anybody had a code that they could pass on to me, and surely enough I did find one person person who was willing to give me a code, and he gave me a code. I tried it out, and
Sweet.
been playing a ton ever since.
That's awesome.
And in case you didn't see my thoughts on Twitter, it's fantastic. I mean, it is really, really great looking. It plays really well. It took a little bit of getting used to some of the differences in controls. I actually had less problem adjusting to the position of the X and Y buttons than I expected, because X and Y are used to jump. And for those of you who have used the GameCube controller a lot, you know that the position of X and Y on the GameCube controller is basically reverse of what it is on the 3DS and the Wii U. And so that actually wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. The big thing that threw me off was actually the fact that they switched the grab over to the L button, because I've always used the R button or Z on the GameCube controller to grab and throw. And so that took a little bit of getting used to, but I think I've pretty much gotten that down. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Mega Man is a lot of fun to use. Villager is hilarious and fun to use. And of course, Mario, Link, and Pikachu all control about how you'd expect.
About the same, yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that I pointed out to you earlier that I thought was cool that they finally put in was Link now has a jumping slash attack, so...
Which is sweet.
I mean, basically, like, obviously, for anyone who's played the 3D Zelda games, which would be pretty much anyone who's played a Zelda game, most likely, when you're Z-targeting and you press A, then he does a jumping slash.
Yeah.
And they never... I don't believe they ever had that as one of Link's attacks in the previous versions of Smash Brothers.
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I can remember.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it's just because I never really used it, but I'm pretty sure that's new. And I think it's great that they finally put that in, because it's nice.
Yeah, I got to play a little bit on that as well, from yours obviously, and only two battles, but initial impressions are super good. I had a little more of a learning curve, but again, I only got to play 2 battles, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, I played as Link and Mega Man, both were sweet. So yeah, it's gonna be a great game.
Definitely.
And it's a limited demo. Obviously, you can only do 1 stage, and only a handful of characters are unlocked. But they show you all the stages, so we were able to overlook them, and they look pretty cool.
Yeah.
For what we could see.
Yeah, and there's a few additional stages that get unlocked. One of which is really cool, and I mean, this isn't. I mean, I guess this is technically sort of a spoiler, but
Just look it up.
if you don't want to hear what I'm going to say here, it's just about 1 stage that's new. Then you can fast forward probably about 30 seconds from now. And the stage is just based on the 2D F-Zero games.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. So it's actually
cool.
The 2D sprites,
Nice.
and you're jumping over.
That'll look cool.
So, but
Yeah, I'll be curious to see a lot more of the stages once the game actually comes out.
Absolutely.
Just the little overviews that you can see on the tiles look really cool.
Yeah.
Some real creative ones, or just for fun ones.
Definitely.
Like the one being the living room or whatever. That could just be funny.
Yeah.
So, and just saying, I really want to play as the Wii Fit Trainer because I think that's hilarious.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't even know what the moveset's going to be like. I think it'll be really fun.
Yeah, it's all like different yoga poses.
Right, which will be hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
different fitness-related moves.
that apparently are deadly.
Yeah.
So there you
And then,
go.
of course, the final smash, it just like shoots off silhouettes of a bunch of different yoga poses. It's hilarious. But anyway, what else have you been playing?
Other than that demo, real quick, I played like a little bit of 7 Days to Die, and that is it.
Oh,
wow. They keep releasing a ton of updates because it's still early access, and so in their last huge update, they finally added random gen worlds, which is really cool because before it was always the same map, which got pretty old after a while, and now they're huge. And there's actually like terrain, so there's cliff sides now. But they released a couple hot fixes, so got back into it, and the new base that I'm constructing is actually underwater. It's like it's this huge cliff side, and you go underwater and then tunneled in and up, so that you have to swim into it, but then you're above water. So it's
Nice.
It's gonna be cool. But yeah, I don't know. I like shooting zombies and crafting stuff and building.
Yeah.
But yeah, I only played a little bit of that. And that's about it. So, but it's a really fun game.
Very cool.
So,
What have you been watching?
a lot
There
of
you
Malcolm
go.
in the Middle.
Sweet.
Yeah, I finished the show.
Nice.
Awesome. Kind of sad that I finished it though.
Yeah.
Because it was really fun, 20-minute episodes here and there, and I'd usually watch like 3-4 before bed and then call it a day or whatever. And so, but yeah, that's really about it. I finished up that one, and now I'm picking a new one. Probably need to pick up where I left off on Arrow actually. So, and then Person of Interest.
Yep.
So,
All right. Stuff I've been watching actually very little this week, surprisingly. Probably mostly because the in-laws were around, and most of the shows I end up watching are with Megan. So when she's not around, a lot of times I don't watch much of anything. But let's see here. We watched some MythBusters, and we watched Escape from Alcatraz.
that's a good one.
We watched the Winter Olympics special of Top Gear again, because we figured that was the only one that my in-laws would definitely be able to enjoy, because we knew that there wasn't really any crass humor to speak of. But it's still an awesome episode anyway. And a lot of Cheers. Cheers is what we watched most by far.
Nice.
We're, I think, more than halfway through season 9. We might even be up to the last disc now. But yeah. So we're getting pretty close with that. I think we'll be watching a lot more. Now that it's just me and Megan again, we'll get we'll go through Person of Interest and watch the second Captain America, because we got that in the mail a while like last week, but because my in-laws haven't seen the first one and they haven't seen any of the movies leading up to the Avengers or the Avengers, and Captain America 2 takes place after the Avengers, I just thought it was a good idea to just wait and the two of us would watch it together.
It's like a 3 to 4 movie marathon that you'd have to go through.
At least. I mean, you have to watch so much because they're so connected.
Which is cool, but not if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. So, yeah, that's really it.
Good deal.
Anything else?
Nope. I've been kind of low key. I was expecting to go hunting this weekend, so did a lot of prep for that and got most of the way out there, and then had a 6-wheeler break on us, so came back. So kind of killed most of my weekend, which was fine. I expected it, but
yeah.
So not much video gaming.
All right. Okay, well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll do the news. All right, so, of course, we're on break now. If you want to get anything to drink or whatever, okay, get something. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, why don't you grab me something hydrating? I don't really care what.
Vitamin or
Probably vitamin water, just not the fruit punch. That's the one I don't like.
yeah, that was it. Parsley.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, the fruit punch is my least favorite.
I usually like fruit punch as a flavor, but I don't like it in that.
No.
I think the only fruit punch I really like, I really like I like Hawaiian punch, even though that's not real juice at all.
No. That's why it's good.
There's Shasta makes a carbonated version of basically a carbonated Hawaiian punch, and it's delicious.
Nice.
And there's I think a Minute Maid fruit punch that's 100% juice. It's really good. But pretty much unless it's 100% juice, most of the time I don't care for it. And like the Snapple one is disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Snapple does tea.
Other teas are good. I like the mango one too, though that's not 100% juice, but it's really good.
Mango, most things is really good.
Yeah. All right. Ready?
Ready.
All right, we are back. So we're going to talk about news.
snooze things.
Use this. I don't know.
Just keep going.
All right, so doesn't seem to really be any Sony news, or at least not things that are exclusively Sony. So we went past that. Microsoft, the only thing that really popped up that I came across was that the rumor about them buying Mojang, developer of Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
It happened. $2.5 billion. Although the actual creator of Minecraft, the guy whose nickname is Notch, has left the company, but not because of Microsoft. He just wants to have a little bit more. Or well, it's not like necessarily he has anything against Microsoft. He just wants to make sure he has more freedom.
Sure.
And it's not as though
well, I mean,
the guy's a millionaire anyway. So
yeah, but I mean to go from like your own company and then all of a sudden you have a boss.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of weird if you ask me.
Definitely.
Not that I've ever had that opportunity.
Exactly. So we'll see if the developer ends up putting anything else out that's going to be a big hit, or a hit at all, for that matter. We'll see what happens.
Not that he has to. He could just.
Well, no, not Notch. I meant Mojang.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Because I mean, like when Microsoft took over Rare didn't put out anything good.
Nope. Well, don't worry. Now we get Minecraft Gears of War, which will be awesome.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know.
Actually, I'm not even sure if Microsoft.
No, that's just an exclusive. I don't know if they're actually directly tied to that.
Well,
but
I can't remember, because I remember like either earlier this year or sometime last year, one of those that something had happened with Gears of War, and I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was just Microsoft gained exclusive rights to it.
yeah. Well, they've always been exclusive.
Well, I mean, it's been exclusive to their system,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been like they own the own the series per se.
But there you go. It's a crafting, grub killing game with chainsaw guns,
There you go.
and that's how you mine resources with a chainsaw gun. See, they should put us in charge. Come up with all the ideas.
Whatever you say, John.
You're just jealous.
Jealous?
Yeah. You wish you had a chainsaw gun.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on. Okay, so do we want to go into Nintendo first, or do we want to go through the other stuff? Because Nintendo, there's quite a bit. Most of it related to Smash.
Finish up the other stuff. We'll
All right.
finish on a high point.
Okay, so PC news. First off, very silently, not even really announced, Final Fantasy IV, the DS remake of it, which is not the 2D sprites, but the 3D character models with voice acting and a bunch of new features, more difficult enemies, etc., is now available on Steam. $15.
All right.
I'm half tempted to buy it, but at the same time, it's like, well, I already have it on DS, and if I really want to replay it, I can play it on DS. But yeah, and then also, this one's more of a. This hasn't been confirmed yet, but some people have spotted that on the Final Fantasy 13 site for Square Enix, and this is, like I said, the site specifically for the Final Fantasy 13 games, 3 of them. In addition to having the logos of PS3 and 360, there's also a Steam logo.
Interesting.
Which presents the possibility that the Final Fantasy 13 games, possibly even in a collection, could be released on Steam. Which
would be pretty cool.
I would be stoked about.
Yeah.
I still haven't finished Final Fantasy 13. I mean, there are things I like about it and things I don't. But the main thing is I got stuck at one point, and then it's been so long since I played that I don't quite remember where I am.
I hate when that happens.
And then, of course, on top of that, as I was telling you earlier, I'm just not as much. I don't do console gaming as much anymore, particularly because of the fact that I have to use the TV, and I don't like to be in a position where I'm taking up the TV all the time. that my wife can actually use it. So at least until we either I get my own separate like HD monitor or small HD TV that I can use in our bedroom, I just don't know if I'll be playing console games as much. And of course, I've also been really spoiled by the Wii U being able to play games on the gamepad screen, because then I don't need the TV, and it's just extremely handy.
Sure.
And of course, with PS4, I'll be able to do remote play with most games, and I mean, I won't do it with every game because some games you really need to have the additional triggers and the L3 and R3 buttons, and touchscreen won't replace that. But even so, yeah. So like, I even though I don't want to redo all the stuff I did in Final Fantasy 13 already, because I probably was a good 60 to 75% of the way through the game.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I think that I might be willing to restart playing on PC because I can take it with me anywhere. My PC has higher specs than the PS3, and my laptop is a 1080p screen, whereas my TV is only 720p.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, there's a lot of advantages to it, but at the same time, I just don't know. We'll see what happens with that.
It's still a rumor right now.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly.
I saw the screenshots and I checked it out for myself, and I mean, it is there. Yeah. So it seems very likely that this is going to happen. And if it does, I will
the
buy
rumors, it's fairly credible.
Yeah, it's a very credible rumor, and I think that, I mean, if this does actually end up being true, I'm going to buy them without question.
Yeah. Because
most likely, if they do a collection, it would probably be $60.
Right.
Because, I mean, with the exception of Lightning Returns, which came out early this year, the other two are pretty old. I mean, 13, I think, came out in 2007.
Yeah.
No, maybe it was later than that. It might have been as late as 2009. I can't remember. But, yeah, I think it was 2009 that 13 came out, and 2011 for 13-2, and then this year is when the third 13 game came out.
Okay.
But it's like, I mean, those games are incredibly good looking. I mean, they are beautiful, beautiful games, and I like a lot of the music. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
We'll definitely keep updated on that. I know that if they bring those to Steam, Scotty will probably end up buying them too.
Yeah.
Even if he wasn't a huge fan of 13. But although I think he did say that he played 13 and 13-2, or at least part of 13-2. Maybe I think it's someone else. I don't know. But regardless, yeah. So that's PC news. Multi-platform news. First off, a big deal with Destiny. In its first 5 days, it made $325 million. Awesome. So it's been doing really well so far. Reviews have been kind of more on the mediocre side, but I think it's mostly because Destiny is a game that it's hard to review because, I mean, it's so early in what the kind of content it's hoping to deliver.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Bungie's plan is to basically spread this out over 10 years, additional content being brought to it, and, just basically make it ever expanding.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's kind of the MMO formula usually.
Yeah.
So. But I think I heard already they added a bunch more public events that weren't there initially, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I still want to check this out, but I just haven't decided how soon I'm going to do it because, even though I canceled one of my pre-orders, I'm still not sure I really should be buying another $60 game just yet.
Well, I won't be getting it for PS3, so that limits me to a PS4, which I don't own yet, and I can't justify buying a console for one game right now. So we'll see eventually.
Well, you get it for that and Infamous Second Son.
Okay, so 2 games. Oh, darn, I guess I'll have to buy a PS4. No, I won't. I won't be doing that anytime soon. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how things go.
I definitely will be buying Destiny. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Because, like I said last episode, the beta sold me so much on it. I mean, we had talked about it a little bit before, but it was still really, there were a lot of unknowns. And the instant I sat down with the beta, I think I was hooked. I was like, this game's really cool. So I will definitely be buying it. But I want to buy it in like all of its glory, so to speak,
Definitely.
instead of going for a last gen.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, still the biggest thing is, I mean, number one, I don't know when I'm getting a PS4. I mean, it's
Same.
probably not going to. It'll probably be sometime next year. If nothing else, when PFDs come around next year, I'll definitely get one.
there you go.
Because by then I should be able to afford it. And plus, then there'll be a bunch of games, or at least several games that I definitely want,
Yeah.
including the new Batman game, which is the one I want the most.
There you go. Yeah, I specifically looked at like just the exclusive list, because a lot of the multi-platform stuff I'd probably buy for my computer, preferably. But the exclusive list is pretty good. It's just a matter of when they all come out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that's just me personally.
Definitely. Next thing I got under multi-platform news is that Final Fantasy Type 0, which we hadn't talked about on the podcast, but it was originally a PSP game that was released exclusively in Japan. It never came to the US. I don't think it came to the UK or Europe. But they're doing an HD remake, or at least up-res. Hopefully it's actually a remake, considering what they're putting it on, but they're putting it on PS4 and Xbox One.
Okay.
And supposedly the release date is March 2015. They haven't officially said this, but I think that either some leak or something suggests that this is when it's coming out. And it looks like it'll be pretty cool, pretty unique. But the other thing is, and I know this will excite Scotty, is that it's supposed to include a demo of Final Fantasy 15, which of course, considering the fact that started as Versus 13, which was announced way back in 2006.
Yeah, it's been anticipated for a little while.
Just a little, just a tiny.
just a touch.
Maybe not quite as long as Duke Nukem Forever, but
which
was
the letdown apparently.
Yeah.
I never played.
I didn't either, but
I've only heard terrible things.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I think that's really cool. I'm very interested in this, in Final Fantasy Type 0, just because I'm a sucker for Final Fantasy games, and this one seems to have some pretty unique attributes to it to make it worth playing. But yeah. SteamWorld Heist. So SteamWorld Dig was a game that was released initially for the 3DS, and then it also came to PC and Wii U.
Okay.
I can't remember if it's on Vita, PS3, PS4, anything like that. It might be. I'd have to look into that again. But it's a fantastic game. I played it, what was it, a month or two ago? I can't remember. I think it was before the first time we talked on the podcast over the summer. So like 6 episodes ago. Wow, it's been that long. Anyway, SteamWorld Dig was fantastic. Metroidvania type game where essentially as you earn upgrades, you're able to access new areas.
Okay.
Not very long, but they're doing the same developer is now doing a game called SteamWorld Heist, which is not a sequel or prequel, but it uses some of the similar concepts, except that now it's set in space, and I believe they said it's turn-based combat, and it's like about controlling other team ships, but it has a similar style to SteamWorld Dig, and the little bit that I've seen, it looks like it's going to be great. Of course, since I like SteamWorld Dig, I'll definitely pick this one up, but it's coming to 3DS, Wii U, and PC.
Nice.
I will probably pick it up for 3DS again, because I like the first one on 3DS, and even though it'll look prettier on Wii U and PC, I like playing games on my 3DS.
3DS is a good platform.
Yeah, I've become a really big fan of it. I mean, Monster Hunter 1 was obviously a huge thing for me, especially particularly last year, but I find that of the handhelds I have, it's definitely my favorite one right now.
Yeah.
As much as I like my Vita, the 3DS just has so many more games that draw me to it. Like, And I think the 3D effect, for a lot of people, it's like it's not a selling point. They don't care about it, and it wasn't really a selling point so much for me either. But I just find that it's something that makes the handheld feel so much different from anything else I play, because the 3D effect is like when you see it in person, it looks so good. It smooths out the jaggedies, and it adds something different. It's something that you don't get on other platforms apart from the occasional game that uses 3D, but you still have to wear the 3D glass and you have to have a 3D TV.
Right.
And this, it's no glasses, so it's
which is cool. Yeah. Initial impressions when I first saw like the original 3DS, I thought it was cool, but it was really hard that the sweet spot, so to speak, of where the 3D effect was really small. Once they came out with the XL, that wasn't an issue at all. It's so much easier to use. It's not as precise, so to speak.
Yeah.
I've been a fan. It's hit or miss for me though if I play with 3D. It just depends. But it is cool. It's a really cool effect.
Yeah, and of course with the new 3DS, it'll be way easier to maintain that 3D effect because of the fact that it tracks your eyes basically with the camera, so that you're always getting the 3D effect regardless of what angle you're at, which is fantastic. On top of the other things, most of all, Xenoblade Chronicles, which I want to play. But
so good transition into Nintendo.
Yeah,
news?
that is actually a good transition. And just one more thing, real quick about that. Well, actually, I guess this is sort of related already to what we're going to be talking about. But most of the Nintendo news, in fact, everything that I have down is related to Smash Brothers for 3DS, or Smash Brothers in general. And I can't even remember what I was saying.
Sorry.
Yeah, that brain fart.
It happens.
But, well, I guess I'll go into, here we go. This is what it was. I guess with Smash Brothers 3DS, because of how much it requires of the 3DS, how much it uses the hardware, how much power it takes and everything to keep it running smoothly, I guess apparently you can't go to Miiverse while it's running on the regular 3DS because it just doesn't have the processing power to keep it running in the background and bring up Miiverse. I guess the new 3DS will be able to do that because it has more processing power.
Yeah.
And the new 3DS has the potential for some other things in the future, but we'll get into that here shortly. So the Smash Brothers for 3DS has come out in Japan. It's of course not out in the US yet, but because of the fact that there have been a number of people who have had the opportunity to play the Japanese version and unlock all of the characters, we do have a final roster. At least it appears to be the final roster. The game has said that you've unlocked all the characters as of this point, but there's a potential for possibly DLC characters, even though Sakurai had said he wasn't going to do DLC, but Nintendo's been doing it a lot more lately, so there's definitely potential for that. What's up real quick? I'll be able to edit this out easily enough. I guess first of all, I'll say with that roster, this is going to be spoiler heavy. So if you really want to be surprised at what new characters are coming to Smash Brothers, what the final roster is, and you haven't already come across information on this, then you've been warned. I'll go ahead and mark it in the show notes. But here is the full character roster. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Alright, so the characters that they've already announced, of course, Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Kirby, Fox, Pikachu, Bowser, Pit, Animal Crossing Villager, Mega Man, Wii Fit Trainer, Pikmin and Olimar, which actually also has an alternate skin to play as Alf, who's the main protagonist of Pikmin 3.
Mm-hmm.
Luigi, Peach, Toon Link, Sonic the Hedgehog, Marth, Rosalina and Luma, Zelda, King Dedede, Lucario, Little Mac, Diddy Kong, Zero Suit Samus, Sheik, Yoshi, Charizard, Greninja, Ike, the Mii Fighters, Palutena, Pac-Man, Captain Falcon, Robin, Shulk, and Meta Knight. So those are the ones that have been officially announced so far, and those are actually all of the starting roster. Those are the ones you can play the second you turn on the game.
Good selection of characters right off the bat.
I think that's 35 characters just to start with.
It's a lot.
And then these are all the unlockable characters.
Oh, I should have known. Of course they do Ness.
Of course.
They have to do Ness.
Ness is unlockable. Falco, Wario, Lucina, Dark Pit, Dr. Mario, Rob, Ganondorf, Mr. Game & Watch, Bowser Jr., Duck Hunt, and Jigglypuff.
Unfortunately, there's got to be a Jigglypuff in there.
Yes.
Dark Pit's an interesting pick.
So let's talk about this a little bit. First of all, Dark Pit and Dr. Mario are essentially clones. Dark Pit, I think the main difference is that he has different weapons.
Okay.
And that he also has all the moveset of Pit in Brawl, whereas Pit's moveset has been slightly altered in Melee.
Yeah.
Dr. Mario, much like in Melee, he is a clone where the main difference is that instead of shooting fireballs, he throws out pills.
Mm-hmm. Same difference, though.
Yeah, and they did thankfully change his cape move so that now instead of it being a yellow cape, which wouldn't make sense for Dr. Mario, it's the same color as his Doctor coat.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe also that he's supposed to have the downbeat tornado move, or well, maybe not. Now that I think about it, watching that's right because the cape is the downbeat, I think. Or no, yeah, what it is that he has the downbeat tornado move, which is what Mario used to have before they switched it to him having Flood from Super Mario Sunshine. So he still has the tornado move, and Lucina's basically a clone too, except that where Marth, all the power of his blade comes from the tip of the blade.
Mm-hmm.
Hers, it's from the middle of the blade. But
I kind of expected her and Marth to have very similar move sets.
Considering her origin, but we won't get into that.
Right. But it was a great game.
Yeah, I still haven't played it, but
it's really good game.
I did find out about the little secret, though I wasn't entirely surprised by it.
You could really see it coming, but it was a great game.
But yeah, I mean, I was initially, I will say I was actually kind of ticked off that they had Dr. Mario and not Mewtwo.
Oh, yeah.
Because I really wanted Mewtwo back, and I thought, well, if Dr. Mario's in, Mewtwo's got to be back.
Yeah.
But I think it's mostly because Dr. Mario and Dark Pit were really easy ones to put in because they're just clones. All I have to do is change the appearance and just slightly alter their moves.
I mean, I can't complain about the roster at all because there's a ton of characters on there. But for unlockables, it's kind of disappointment, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, 12 unlockables.
Right. Which, I don't know, it just seems like we'll see when the game comes out and we actually get to play as them. Maybe they will control a little different.
Well, I mean, I've actually been able to see these in action. So, I haven't seen Dark Pit in action yet, but I have seen Dr. Mario, and it's just like I described. It's very similar to how he played in Melee. Almost identical. In fact, I think actually it is identical to how he played in Melee, apart from having a Final Smash now where he just throws a bunch of pills instead of fireballs.
Okay.
But
And then like Ganondorf, he's very similar to a Captain Falcon type of character. Expected him to be back.
Yeah,
he was in the previous.
Yeah,
ones.
I mean, absolutely. And besides, Ganondorf is, he's the Zelda villain. So
right, exactly.
Makes perfect sense for him to be back.
I do kind of like that they. Well, I mean, we discussed this before about how they're not going to have like the characters that change into other characters, but I like that Sheik and Zelda, or not, Zelda are both their own.
Yeah, and same with Samus and Zero Suit
Exactly.
Samus.
They're their own characters,
And,
which is cool because they did have very different fighting styles. Like if you play as Zelda,
very
she had
much
one
so.
move set, and then you'd switch to Sheik, and it was completely different. So, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and one thing that you may or may not have noticed is that Ice Climbers aren't back.
I did see that, yeah.
And Sakurai has explained the reason for this, and it's ultimately, he wanted to have the same roster across both games. That was the big thing, is that they needed to have the same roster, even though the games are going to be different from the standpoint that they're not going to have the same modes and not all the same stages. In fact, most of their stages are different.
Right.
He wanted the roster to remain the same. So Ice Climbers, of course, getting it running on Wii U, no problem.
Yeah.
But because of the fact that he was having, no matter how much they worked at it, they couldn't get Ice Climbers to work quite right on 3DS. They didn't include it. And what it is it's not so much getting, if one player is using Ice Climbers, that's not a problem. But the way Ice Climbers works is you're controlling one, and then the second character is partially controlled but partially AI.
Right.
Unlike Rosalina and Luma, which people have tried to use it as an argument why Ice Climbers should be in, even though Rosalina and Luma, it's literally just whatever. Luma is controlled by Rosalina. It's not, there's no AI there. So Ice Climbers, what it is that they can't make it work to where you have, like, if 4 people decided to play and they all used Ice Climbers, the system would just grind to a halt because it's just not powerful enough for that. And so they ended up cutting Ice Climbers, and considering the fact that Ice Climbers, it's from a less popular franchise, the fact that Ice Climbers has had one game, and that was on the NES, and most people didn't even know it existed until Super Smash Bros. Melee when Ice Climbers was introduced.
It's no big deal for me. I never really used them anyhow. They were it was a unique character, but
yeah, I think it's
care.
a real shame for people who are fans of the Ice Climbers, and I think that there's still the potential that down the line they could potentially bring in Ice Climbers, at least for use on the new 3DS and Wii U versions.
Yeah.
Because the new 3DS could probably handle it, but it's just the original 3DS cannot.
Right.
And that's really unfortunate, but at the same time, what can you do? But the other thing about all this is that it confirms that those leaks that we had talked about a while back were in fact legitimate. Bowser Jr. especially. He is, of course, in his clown car, and his alternate skins are the different Koopalings.
Nice.
So basically, you can play as any one of the 7 Koopalings and Bowser Jr.
That's pretty funny.
Duck Hunt. It's not specifically the Duck Hunt dog per se, even though it is the Duck Hunt dog you're technically playing as. But his moves vary from being moves actually performed by the dog itself, to being things done by the duck, to also using other 8-bit light gun shooters.
Okay.
Like various characters from those. His entrance is him going.
Oh, I hated that dog.
But yeah, and apart from that, it's mostly just it's returning characters.
Yeah, out of the list, that's the most unique one right there.
Definitely
would be the Duck Hunt one. Because Ness been there from the beginning. Falco we've seen quite a while. I can't remember if Wario's been in any
just
others.
Brawl.
So but still seen him before. Lucina, basically a Marth. Dark Pit, Dr. Mario, we already talked about. Rob was already in it.
Yeah.
Ganondorf was already in it. Mr. Game Watch was already in it. Bowser Jr. I can't imagine he'll be too different of a character, but still a little more
Well,
unique.
I think he'll be fairly
So-
unique because of the fact that using the clown card does
Right.
give him a different kind of. I mean, it's not going to be just basically a smaller version of Bowser.
Sure, but either way, Bowser Jr., Duck Hunt, those and Jigglypuff, those are the unique ones right there. Oh wait, not Jigglypuff.
Though I think I remember hearing someone say that Jigglypuff has been improved a bit. I haven't seen Jigglypuff in action yet, really, apart from someone unlocking it. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty interesting roster. Like I said, initially I was upset about the lack of Mewtwo because it just seemed like, especially with all the times that Sakurai had teased about Mewtwo coming to the game, it seemed like there was a decent chance, and especially when I saw Dr. Mario, I was like, okay, Dr. Mario's back, why wouldn't Mewtwo be brought back?
Right.
And,
Well, they've kind of replaced Mewtwo almost with Lucario.
well, with Lucario and with Greninja.
Yeah.
Because Greninja has some moves that are basically the same thing.
Right.
But this is just a rumor. Whether or not it's accurate, I'm not going to get my hopes up about it. I'll just put it that way. Supposedly, by connecting the Wii U and 3DS versions, if you purchase both, you unlock Mewtwo, Ridley, and Dixie Kong, and the Chorusman from the Rhythm Fever Rhythm Heaven games. It could be. I mean, it certainly would be something to help give incentive and help reward people for buying both versions.
Don't hold your breath, though, is what I'm
But
saying.
I mean, I definitely am not holding my breath about it. I'm just assuming the rumor's not true.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I don't want to get my hopes up. I mean, Mewtwo, I think I've gotten over the fact that he probably isn't going to be in the game. And Ridley, I didn't really expect him to be in, even though I think that they could definitely make it work.
Be kind of cool.
And I mean, we still haven't actually seen Ridley yet, so that's the one thing that makes me wonder if he could still be in the game. Because as of right now, all we've seen is that when they showed the Metroid stage off in some of the early footage of Smash Brothers, and it's the Metroid stage specifically for the Wii U version, they showed Ridley's shadow. But they didn't actually confirm if he was going to be a stage hazard or if he was actually going to be a playable character. And most likely it's going to be stage hazard.
Yeah.
But considering the fact that right now we just don't know, because we don't know what difference it's going to make. We know that Club Nintendo is going to offer, I mean, anyone who registers both versions of the game will be able to get the soundtrack for both games, which is amazing. I'm really happy about that because I love the music. But beyond that, we don't know for sure. One thing that does seem to be the case is it looks like some of the connectivity between the 3DS and Wii U versions is that you'll be able to use the 3DS as a controller on the Wii U version, if you so choose.
That'd be kind of cool.
I don't think I would, only because of the fact that I think that the Wii U controllers will work better for it, especially if you use GameCube controllers, which to me is ideal.
Right.
Even though I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to use those. If I do, I mean, I have one official GameCube controller and some third-party wireless ones that are okay. And I can always, get some of the new controllers, which will undoubtedly, I mean, they're not that expensive right now to pre-order, and they won't be. They'll go down in price for sure. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some cool things to see with that.
It'll be a great game.
Definitely.
Yep.
But let's see here. There's a couple other things here. One thing that's pretty awesome is that Smash Brothers, in its first 2 days in Japan, already sold almost 1 million units. That was just 2 days.
Doesn't surprise me though.
That's like almost. I think it's nearly double what Brawl sold, and I think Brawl was the highest selling before that.
Wow.
In its first week.
Yeah, first week.
So it hasn't even had a week yet on the market, and it sold almost 1 million just in 2 days.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So.
Oh, that's a great game. It deserves it.
Yeah, and of course, the fact that it's on a handheld is a huge thing in Japan.
Well,
because
it's the first time this series has come to a handheld.
Yeah, and handheld gaming is really, really big in Japan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look how well the 3DS has done, period.
Yeah.
It's done very well, so having Smash Brothers on there is a bonus.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see what its sales are like by the end of the first week.
Yeah.
Because I anticipate it'll probably be around 1.5 million, give or take like a couple 100,000. But
yeah, just a couple hundred though.
Yeah, I mean, that's also pretty big because Japan's not nearly as populated as it is as like we are or anything.
Right.
So it's selling that well is a really good sign. I mean, once it hits the U.S., it's going to be selling. I could say, I mean, this is a guesstimate, and it's probably there's no way of telling until we actually get to that point. But I'm going to say, my guess is that in the U.S., its first week, it will sell. We'll say at least 2 million
in its first week.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so.
Well, hold your
because I mean the U.S. is much larger. There's a lot more people with 3DSs out here.
Oh yeah.
And, I think that it will sell that well. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, the last thing here with I mean it is related to Smash Brothers and it's the last Nintendo thing, is that the 3DS demo is actually available to download, or rather it will be available to download on Friday, September 19th for everyone. That does have limited uses as opposed to being unlimited, but the easy way to get around this is unless you want to play something else on your 3DS, just anytime you're done playing, close your 3DS.
Yeah.
Because then you're not. I mean, don't exit the game, and that way you're not
stay in game and just put the 3DS to sleep.
Exactly. I mean, that's the easiest way to do that. That's what I was doing the first couple days, and then I decided to close it out. I was like, well, I have 30 uses, no problem, and realized that nope, this one doesn't have a limit since it's
nice.
The Club Nintendo one.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I think that's everything. I guess one thing we could also mention real quickly here is apparently in Japan a number of at least original model 3DSs, doesn't seem to be a problem with the XLs, but people, because of Smash Brothers, their circle pads are coming off.
It's an intense game, man.
Yeah, obviously it's we still have a couple more weeks before it comes out in the US, but I'm just going to say right now, if you play the game, just don't overdo it.
Yeah, there you go.
Try not to get to the point where you're breaking off your circle pad, because that's just not good.
That's ridiculous.
Especially if it's not under warranty anymore.
Yeah.
You have to pay to get it fixed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's everything. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take another break here. When we come back, we will do our closing thoughts. I'll be right back. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to find the actual pictures of Fierce Deity Link in Smash Bros. 3DS because I found them before, but those are just brawl mods there, but there's actual pictures of. I've come across a couple ones that are the real thing. That's essentially what it looks like. I mean, it has all the decorations and stuff on the front of his tunic, but yeah, they use like I guess it's more of a charcoal gray, sort of a bluish charcoal gray they use instead of the pale color.
Still pretty cool.
Though I'm guessing that probably somewhere down the line someone will do some graphical mods for the Wii U version at least and make it so that it's more accurate. But oh, I see. That's just someone's mock-up. I'm trying to do the brawl. So some of the brawl ones are actually pretty impressive. But anyway, all right, we are back. So we're going to finish off the show this evening with our closing thoughts. John, why don't you start us off?
Alrighty. Well, we've been talking a lot of Smash Bros. And I'm going to say I'm very excited for it to come out. I haven't pre-ordered yet, but playing that demo a little bit, and the more we talk about it, the more excited I'm getting. I know you are too, so it's going to be a great game because, heck, I played the crap out of the N64 version, and then I didn't have a GameCube, and then I played a ton of Brawl. So it's a great. It's probably one of my favorite fighting games, honestly. honestly. Like, I mean, there's some other good ones, but this one's just so good.
Yeah.
So.
It's so much different from other fighting games.
Oh yeah, it's just a lot of fun. The dynamics that they've set up are really good. So yeah, that's gonna be a great game for sure. Very excited about that.
All right. Well, I guess I have a couple things. One is we just found out the amount for our PFDs, which, for those of you who don't know, in Alaska here, the revenue that's earned from the oil drilled in Alaska, a certain percentage goes to everyone who's a resident of Alaska.
For a year.
Every year, yes.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been here for a full calendar year gets a percentage of that revenue, and it's like 5 years prior, that revenue comes into, I believe, how we get our PFDs for each year. And so this year we're getting $1,884.
Fantastic, free money.
Exactly. Some people might say, well, that's socialism. Not really, because basically the idea behind it is that we get the money, but then it just goes back into the economy.
Yeah.
Because most people are going to spend their money in Alaska anyway.
They do. And PFD weekend, it's called, is ridiculous. Like, don't go shopping because you'd think that it was Black Friday almost.
Exactly.
Like, that people are walking out with TVs and everything, and they're just spending. It's its own type of holiday almost.
Exactly. And, I mean, it really does help our economy a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big thing about it. That's the whole point of it.
Well, I think it's cool that the oil companies do that because it's the Alaskan people's land. I mean, and so I like free money.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I wish that I could, be irresponsible and use it for some other things. Like buy a new TV would probably be the big one that I would do, is buy a new TV. Probably buy a new TV and a PS4.
There you go.
And definitely get like a 60-inch or maybe even like an 80-inch.
An 80-inch TV.
Oh,
Dude, you don't have the wall space.
I've been eyeing that thing for a while at Costco, and it's gone down a lot. I mean, it's probably like $2,000 cheaper than it was.
Can you imagine? Okay, if you had an 80-inch in here, we'd have to watch it from your kitchen.
Not necessarily.
Or that, or you'd be playing video games, so you'd actually have to turn your head so you could see what was going on.
The point is that I would like to have a bigger TV, but since I'm going to be responsible and actually use it to pay off stuff that needs paid off.
Good for you.
Yeah. If we were still on 2 incomes, I might consider using some of it for other stuff, but because we're not, we need to actually be responsible. So,
yeah.
Let's see, what else was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Definitely, if you have a 3DS, check out the Smash Brothers demo that's coming out on Friday the 19th. Well worth playing. I mean, it is very limited because you are limited to 5 characters, 1 stage, and only timed battles. 2-minute timed battles, but it's a great deal of fun. Even though it's a little hard initially to get used to the controls, it's very doable. I mean, I've been playing primarily with a GameCube controller the past 10 to 15 years, and like I said, it's been 15 years since it came out. It's been more like, I think it came out in 2002 probably, so that was 12 years ago, but over 10 years easily. And so that's my primary controller. It's the one I would always choose if I had the choice in every situation. But with the 3DS version, I haven't had any problems adjusting to the new controls.
They're not that different. I mean, there's a little bit of button placement that takes some getting used to.
Yeah, that's the big thing. But it's totally worth it. It's absolutely gorgeous looking, at least when you're looking at it in 3D. 2D, it still looks pretty good. And I mean, the Wii U version will probably be better overall, but the 3DS version, you can't beat the portability, and it does have modes that are exclusive that are not going to be in the Wii U version. In fact, I think all of with the exception of like classic mode and the basic battles, all of the modes are going to be different between the 2 versions,
which is cool.
So more incentive to buy both. Let's see here. I think there was something else. That might be it. I'm trying to think. I didn't write anything down this last time for it, so I'm having a hard time remembering if there was something else that I wanted to say. Well, that's probably it. If I think of something else, then oh well.
Oh well. Save it till next time.
Yeah. Well, if you'd like to subscribe to our podcast, you can do so via iTunes.
I'm just gonna hit my head against the wall for a little while because it's via.
I've heard it both ways.
No, you haven't. I'm gonna do that right now. Actually, just kind of. It doesn't feel any better.
That's not going to help with the recording.
I know. it was for dramatic effect.
Yeah. Anyway, you can follow us on twitter.com/FrozenGamers. Like us on Facebook.com/FrozenGamers. Check out our site, FrozenGamersPodcast.com. There we have all of our full episodes available to listen or download. Each one includes an outline with featured music and specially designed artwork. Be sure to write into us with questions, whether gaming related or not, and comments on anything you've heard through the aforementioned sources or through our email address, which is frozengamerspodcast@gmail.com. For myself, my co-hosts John Flam, and the absent Scotty R. and Ben Grayson, we are the Frozen Gamers, and we will be back with you next week.